Now, what is a good podcast?
I think what makes a good podcast is...
What makes for a good podcast?
What makes a good podcast is this week's prompt on Too Long Didn't Listen. I'm Josh from Double Audio. Thanks for tuning in. If you don't know what this series is, then it's 5 questions. No, it's not. 1 question. 5 podcasters, 1 question, 60 seconds each. That's the show. Right, I'll catch you in the outro. 1 take, done.
Too Long Didn't Listen with Double Audio.
I'm Elsie Escobar. I work alongside Captivate, supporting independent podcasters, and I've been podcasting for nearly 2 decades. Now, what is a good podcast? A good podcast knows why it exists and who it's for. You should be able to answer very clearly why you podcast. Audio matters, especially loudness. People listen in real life situations, traffic, dishes, the shower. Your show needs to be easy to hear in those moments. A simple check is comparing your podcast to your GPS voice. That tells you if your levels are working. From there, it's about clarity. A clear point of view, a defined audience, and a constant delivery. Whether you're offering insight, entertainment, or connection, people come back when they know what they're getting. You can feel when a host is grounded. There's an energy behind the mic that builds trust over time. The best podcasts focus on reaching the right person. Yours.
Hi, I'm Sefa. I am a podcast executive producer. I'm a voiceover artist, and I also run 4C Voices. What makes for a good podcast? I would say clear purpose and knowing who your audience is. That has to be quite clear from the offset. So that's number 1. I would also say a really engaging host. I would say a consistent structure as well. Switching it up and changing things is fine, but as an audience or as a watcher or a listener, I like to know what I'm going to get from my podcast. I like a consistent structure. Change, like I said, it is fine, but generally across the board, it should be quite consistent. I think consistent structure just lets us know what to expect, and we value that. We like that, you know. Lastly, I would say having real value in your podcast. Am I coming to you for insight? Am I coming to you for entertainment? Am I coming to you for emotion? Like, what am I coming to your podcast for? That has to be quite clear from the offset. So I would say those things will make a really good podcast.
My name is Salman and I'm the executive producer of More Muslim. It's a new narrative podcast in the style of shows like Radiolab and This American Life, but focused on stories from Muslim communities around the world. And I think what makes a good podcast is having a good editor. When I was first starting out, I put a lot of emphasis on sound quality and sound design and having a good host as like these key ingredients to what makes a good narrative podcast. But after I started working professionally, I realized behind every great narrative podcast is a great editor. Because while your producer or reporter might be the person out on the field, the ones whose voices you hear, the ones who assemble the tape, the story editor is the one person in the process whose job is to first and foremost think about story structure. Like, how can we make this the most interesting story it can be? How do we keep audiences engaged? Where to introduce which plot point when? And I realized having a good editor is like having a secret superpower, someone who just silently makes your work better and saves you from your worst impulses.
I think a good podcast knows their audience. They know who they're trying to reach, they know what they're trying to say, and that's really clear. And then I think it has personality. You have something that is distinctly you or this show, and it's recognizable, it's unique and easy to resonate with, because either you believe in the message, you know that it's for you, or it's just really interesting. I think the most interesting podcasts are definitely, well, at least to me, in the niches, but also they just know who they are and they know who they're talking to. And I love a good structure, personally. I think that makes a really good podcast, having a really clear expectation of what's to come. It's really well thought out. It doesn't drag. Yeah, those are my starting points.
Hi, I'm Abby. I'm a podcast producer and I make content for international brands. One of the last podcasts I made was integrated into a video game. What makes a good podcast? Well, having good rapport between your hosts, comedy, expertise. I think hybrid formats are great. So a fiction show for kids can have expert celebrity interviews sort of interweaved throughout the episode. I like the idea of getting tape on the ground. When I made a podcast about a graffiti artist, I recorded the interviews inside, but then I also recorded him in the process of creating the art and talking to me about that. So try and innovate anything that you do to try and surprise and delight your audience.
Thank you for tuning in to Too Long Didn't Listen. I'm Josh from Double Audio, and this is episode 3 of our first ever series. So if you haven't checked out episode 1 and 2 yet, then please do. And then subscribe to the show if you like what you hear. Our next episode is on what makes a bad podcast, which is exciting and scary for me because I'm going to have to do an intro and outro, and they might just be slating what I've just done. But if they have, then great. Learn lessons for all. Outro is meant to be short. I've just probably done too much already. Right, okay. Love you. Bye-bye.
Too Long Didn't Listen with Double Audio.